Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Motivation Monday. This is Rob Liano. So let's get to the message that I know everyone wants to hear about the Millionaires Club. Because everyone, when I have spoken in front of audiences, I usually ask, who wants to make more money or improve their life? And everyone raises their hand. And it comes down to two components as to why people aren't having the life they want or making the money they want. They either don't know what to do or they know what to do and they aren't doing it. And as a trainer, especially in insurance, I have seen so many people that are instructed what to do. In fact, the only time my training has ever failed is when people aren't doing it because I have researched and developed tried and true sales principles that work across the board. It's like if you implement it, it will work. And I'm not saying that to impress anyone. It's to impress upon you that if you aren't where you're at or where you want to be currently, you want to maybe reassess and check out what you're doing habit-wise, what you're doing consistently, and then change some of those habits and add maybe some more of a skill set and some knowledge and apply that knowledge so that you can position yourself to get in the position you want. I'm sorry, I said position like 95 times there, so I apologize. But I get pumped up about this topic. Okay, so I am going to say flat out, especially since you are in this business, you can become a millionaire. You obviously are positioned here with a massive amount of clients, whether it's in the senior market with 10,000 baby boomers every day turning 65, whether it's in the millions of consumers potentially out there for health insurance with the multiple products and benefits you can offer. Yes, it takes work, and the only way it works is if you work at it. But the more you invest your work and ethic up front, the more you can relax and enjoy it on the back end. What most people do is they focus on the immediate right now. I need to pay my bills, or I want to get that new Apple Watch, whatever it is, and they're really sacrificing the future. But your actions today absolutely affect tomorrow. And it can be seemingly insignificant small changes that can catapult you into really big differences down the road. So first I want to start off with the statistics, which are really interesting because if anyone doesn't know, I'm a musician. I've been on tour as a drummer. I also write and produce some music. Nothing you would have heard probably, but it's a kind of cool thing I do when I have some free time or take the time to do it. But here's the interesting stat. 2 to 3% of millionaires in the United States are in entertainment, meaning actors, sports figure, singers, etc., like whatever music you hear or listen on the radio, like Taylor Swift, Britney Spears, Lady Gaga, whatever it is, sports figures, they sign multi-million-dollar contracts. That only makes up 2 to 3% of millionaires. The reason why we're aware of it is because they're in your face. They're all over the media. Here's something that most people are not aware of. 6 to 9% are in sales. And you've all heard of Millionaires Roundtable, the Top Producers Club, relating to insurance. So when I tell you that you are in the right business because you're not only in sales, but you're also in insurance, you are literally at the launching pad for becoming a millionaire. And of course, it's all a matter of selling and comes down to sales. But the most important thing is vision. A lot of people don't see that they can become a millionaire. And it takes, according to Jim Rohn, two things that become the catalyst for change. It's either inspiration or desperation. We've probably all done things where we're like, man, you know what, I've just had it and I have to make a change, and we've done it. Or we've been inspired by something. So hopefully this session will inspire you to position yourself to really not have to work the rest of your life. Because if you've ever listened to The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale, they did a study in the 50s of 25-year-olds who were all eager to do well and wanted to earn a lot of money and have a successful life, have great relationships, whatever they chose as success. And at the age of 65, one was very wealthy. 4 were monetarily self-sufficient. The rest were either broke, relying on government, relying on families or friends, or working. Now, how many people do you know, if you deal with seniors, are still working at the age of 65, 70, 70-something? Because they have to. The time to create the prosperous future so that you don't have to be in that bottom 95% of people who are struggling when they retire. The time to start that is right now. So let's get into a couple of really interesting stories. And I always say, why not you? It has to be somebody. If you are able-bodied and you're not limited by anything, who people like Helen Keller, and there's this dude, I forgot his name, who has no arms and no legs, and he's a motivational speaker. It's unbelievable. So why not us? We should be able to grasp this and run with it, right? So I want to give you two really interesting examples. If you haven't heard of Og Mandino, he wrote what is considered one of the top 10 greatest sales books of all time, The Greatest Salesman in the World. And you may not know the backstory that he was actually a total failure and a drunk and almost killed himself. Now, without sharing all the gory details, the story kind of goes like this. He went to a library and he walked in and read a book. That book was called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone, right? And he was inspired. And what do we say? He was probably both desperate and inspired, right? He probably hit both of them on the head. And what he did was he sought out an insurance company to work for and became a top salesperson, then a manager, and then he wrote this book, The Greatest Salesman in the World. The interesting thing is, here's the connection. The person he sought out, the insurance company, happened to be the person who wrote the book that inspired him, W. Clement Stone. If you haven't heard of combined insurance, I don't know where you've been. But if you haven't heard of it, it's a humongously successful insurance agency. So now these happen to be two people who wound up becoming motivational speakers, authors, and built successful insurance companies. But here's what's interesting. W. Clement Stone has a similar story in that when he was 3 years old, his father died, and they were left, he and his mom, in poverty. He had gambling debts. His father had gambling debts. So he lived with his mother in an apartment in Chicago's tough South Side, which is, famous for like gangsters and stuff, right? But at 6 years old, he decided to sell newspapers to help support his family. And he had a lot of competition with some older kids who were selling newspapers. So what he did was positioned himself better in that he started selling at restaurants. And then he became friends with the restaurant owner and wound up with his own newsstand. And now he actually borrowed money, and it's like, $100 or $1,000, whatever, something around that time. I don't know it specifically. Back in that era, to start the insurance company, which became Combined Insurance. So if for any reason you think you cannot do something like this, you probably want to start with the positive mental attitude, which is PMA, positive mental attitude, which W. Clement Stone popularized. How do you handle adversity? How do you expect to succeed or fail? I know a lot of people who got on the phone in insurance sales and were trying to disqualify the client, meaning, okay, they're not going to buy, so I'm going to move on to the next one that's going to be a slam dunk. That's not sales. That's not applying a skill set. That's assuming people are not going to buy. So what are you going to do? You're going to act accordingly. So if you assume people are going to buy, you are going to go through the steps necessary to service that person properly, ask for the sale, get the right benefits package, and sell more. So the overall theme here is, if you want to position yourself to become more successful than you've ever been, you obviously have to do some things that maybe you've never done before. Just enough is not good enough, right? So we want more than enough. So then means we have to do more than enough, or we'll always be stuck with just enough. So I want to make sure you fully understand that the work and responsibility is ours in anything we do. We can't blame clients. We can't blame a carrier, unless obviously there's a blatant event that happens. But for the most part, we really need to take accountability, take initiative, and learn what we have to learn to master the skill set of being a professional business owner, because that's what you guys are. Even though you may sometimes feel like an employee, you definitely own your own business, and that's the best way to look at it, is that you will make or break it. So I would say make it, and where we can supply you with the tools of the trade to do so. In fact, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday's training session is covering all the tools of the trade. So if you want to get onto that, that will help you out as well. And obviously attend the sales training on Wednesdays, things of that nature. anything you need to do to figure out where you may be lacking in your proficiency, and then position yourself to grow in that area. And of course, go as you grow. A lot of people will take too much time to prepare. Preparation, yes, is key, but sometimes they don't pull the trigger. So you want to go as you grow. And I've noticed in sales training over the last decade that you will learn the most when you start to apply it, meaning I can go over a presentation with you, teach you how to close, assume the sale. You can learn how to submit policies, learn all the technology, but you will learn the most when you actually get on the phone with the client and keep doing it. It is the action part of it and the application part of it that will allow you to grow the furthest. So dive in, even though you may think you don't know everything yet, you can trust yourself that you know more than you think you do. That's a famous quote from Dr. Spock, not Mr. Spock, which I would like that, but that one's live long and prosper, so it applies, right? But Dr. Spock said, trust yourself, you know more than you think you do. And you need to remember that when you're on a phone call. Things that you hear in training will pop in your head because it's stored in the supercomputer that is your mind. So have a little more confidence every step of the way. The inspiration and quote to end today's session, I figured Ogmandino would be logical. Always do your best. What you plant now, you will harvest later. And Earl Nightingale, who's a great motivational coach, says, first you have to invest to get the reward. Everything in life is like that. I know here, before I could fill up my tank with gas, I have to pay. So I have to pay first in order to get what I want. College is the same thing. You are paying for an education in advance to get what you want in your life. So everything we do is planting and harvesting, sowing and reaping. It's an age-old formula for success that works. So I want you to think about where it is you need to grow a little more. Maybe you need to just get organized, whatever it is, how you can position yourself. And now here's the most important part. I want you to figure out, based on your commissions, because you know your own commissions. I don't know everyone's commissions. There are different things going on in what different products, right? So I don't know which specific ones you're selling. But I want you to calculate what it would take for you to earn $1 million over the next 3 to 5 years, meaning how many policies do you have to sell? How many supplemental policies? How many accident plans? How many dental plans? How many critical illness? How many gap plans? How many major medicals? Whatever it is, you need to start to calculate your journey and how to get there. Otherwise, it seems impossible and a pipe dream because we don't know the steps it takes.